Wow, what an episode. Hey guys, welcome back to my Flash episode review, my review of the episode titled Power Outage. I really like this episode. For me, the episode, while it was good, I felt it was very predictable. The main thread of the episode, the main storyline of the episode was, of course, Barry losing his powers. But was there ever any doubt that he wasn't going to get his powers back at some point? Like, come on. I mean, like I did kind of like how they like twisted it in. It was more like a mental thing, like when like he got shook again. How it was he was stopping himself from being fast. It wasn't necessarily the physical side of it; it was the mental side. And I did like that, but at the same time, I was like, come on, like you're not gonna like take away his powers like this early on. And like he's a Flash, you're not gonna permanently take away his powers. We all know that. But yeah, overall, really solid episode. It was it was really less about the Flash and more about Barry as a character and what he's able to do even like without his powers. And while I did find the episode predictable, at the same time, I did like the angle they took with Barry kind of analyzing like being out there and being a hero. That's what he feels like he's meant to do. What's what makes him feel better as a person, and I like that because we see like in Smallville they did that a few times where they took away his powers. Something happens, then in the end he gets it back. Again, the same instance here, very similar. He loses powers, and of course by the end of it he gets his powers back. Overall, really solid performances by everyone involved. I liked Clock King coming back from Arrow because in Arrow I loved his performance in Arrow in that episode from last season, Time of Death, and it carrying over into this episode. And I like how they didn't hammer the fact that he was from Starling City. Because with Felicity and other when they make other references to Arrow, they kind of like hammer it in your face because it's like, oh, it's one big shared universe, we have to keep talking about it. And I did like how it was subtle, somewhat, and didn't really have to say like, oh, look, this is from Starling City. Like, oh, the Arrow beat him, and I like that they didn't do that. And I think it's Robert Nepper, I think is his name. Is really solid performance. I really like the Clock King. He's a very animated kind of character, very cartoony, but at the same time, it is a little grounded in a way. And all honestly, like, I felt like he kind of fit better in the Arrow side of this universe than the Flash. But I liked the actor and the character so much that I really don't mind. And I liked how the whole hostage situation, like we're all kind of expecting Barry to go save the day at the end, but in the end, it was kind of like Iris and Eddie and Joe who kind of ended up saving the day. Well, Iris more than any of the other ones. And I like that a lot. And I like, to be honest, I like this episode because I had a little less Eddie for the first time. And I've been very hit or miss with Eddie. Like last episode, when him and Barry kind of bonded, I think that was last week's episode. Yeah, it was last week's episode. I like that a little bit. But overall, as a character, he's been very hit or miss for me, especially with the actor. I'm giving him a chance. Obviously, I'm not giving up on him yet. I'm seeing what they're going to do with the character if he does become Professor Zoom, which I doubt at this point after Grant Gustin's statements recently saying that like and everyone's theories are wrong and no one can guess it. So I'm looking forward to who we find out Reverse Flash is. But what else? I like the character moments between Caitlin and Barry. I really like their chemistry and their on-screen relationship because it shows that like Barry has beyond Iris and even Felicity, like he has someone in his life who is not a love interest and be able to talk to them. And Caitlin shows that she genuinely cares about Barry. And as a character, it's nice to have someone who's eventually going to be a villain be so caring and kind of down to earth, really. Because yeah, there are times when she's kind of cold and kind of like it seems like she's more thinks more with her head than with her heart. And in this episode, it shows because we see her in the situation with Barry. The power's out, and he doesn't have his powers, and she's really genuinely concerned for his well being, and it shows that like there's a deep connection there. At least like on a friendship sort of level, there's a deep connection there. And I like that a lot. And I really hope they don't go the whole like they could have like they could be potentially together. I wouldn't like that because I do like their on-screen relationship. Sorry, I had to reposition myself here. I really do like their on-screen relationship, and I don't want that to change or get weird. I mean, obviously, at some point down the line, she has to become Killer Frost. I don't know how long, but I hope that what they're doing right now with their relationship stays the way it is, because I really like their friendship, and I like how we finally get to see more of Harrison Wells and his kind of like secret, because especially since the pilot, like he's been very fishy. Like we don't know what's going on with him. We know obviously he's from the future, and for some reason he's been sent back to help the Flash and keep the Flash safe. And you see when he goes in that room, like when Barry first loses his powers, like history was changed. I'm just like, really, come on. Like again, like the whole him losing his powers thing, I knew that was never gonna last. But it was kind of interesting to see how even when he got his powers back, like history is still intact. Like Barry is gonna go missing at some point in the future, and I'm really curious what they're gonna do with that and the whole Harrison Wells storyline and the whole ending with Harrison Wells going up to whatever the blackout or whatever the villain's name was, going up to him saying like, "Oh, you took the Flash's ability. I want to know how you did that." And like that being the ending, I'm like, wait a minute. Didn't you just say like a few episodes ago you need to keep the Flash safe? Like I honestly don't know what they're doing with Harrison Wells at all. Like I can't begin to guess at this point, because it seems like he's trying to keep him safe, but in like a kind of creepy way. At the same time, he's I don't. I mean, it's definitely it's good. It's good. It's a good TV show of storytelling, and they're keeping me interested by making me like debate who is this guy. And that's good, but at the same time, it's like frustrating because it's like he's almost like contradicting himself. But I guess we'll find out later on. Like what this all means for Harrison Wells' character. One thing I actually did kind of like was the use of the Tony guy, the guy from last week's episode, the villain. I can't remember his name. And I like how they brought him back. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. That they brought him back just to kill him off. I'm like, even though I didn't necessarily like the character last week, I felt like he fit better this week because it wasn't necessarily trying to be like the villain again or the bad guy or the bully. And I did kind of like that. I mean, kind of like frustrating me how they just killed him off, because it's like they've killed off almost every single one of their villains. But one thing I really do like is the whole particle accelerated prison that they've kind of built for themselves and all the metahumans they capture. I like that a lot. For me, one of the big gripes of the episode is once again like the villain of the week. He wasn't the big bad thing. I mean, for this episode, I'm really kind of nitpicking this, but the villain of the week, it's getting a little frustrating to me because it's something they keep doing every week, and that I've been looking forward to, Catherine Cold and Heatwave coming in because they set that up a few weeks ago. But it's like we're waiting for that sort of thing to happen, and it's like they just keep giving us villain of the week. I guess we'll see what happens in the future with the villain. I mean, the performance was okay. I don't blame the actor. Like it's just I'm getting kind of tired of again the villain of the week sort of thing, and that's something that carries over from Arrow. Like it's something I don't necessarily like. And then I think even Stephen Amell said recently, like because they're 22, 23 episode seasons, it's hard to come up with those filler episodes. That's why they use the villain of the week, and that the writers really don't like using the villain of the week, but they kind of have to because unlike most shows that are like 13 to like 10, between 10 and 13 episodes, they have a lot of episodes to fill, and so they kind of need to use the villain of the week, which is understandable. At the same time, it's like, okay, I watched so much of Smallville, and so much of that show was just villain of the week, or freak of the week, whatever you want to call it. And it's frustrating to me sometimes, especially when they get these characters who aren't layered. They're just there because they're trying to. But one thing I do like is when they use the villain to tell the story. Like with Arrow, that's what they've been doing lately. They're using like the villain as a conduit for certain characters' relationship and for that to grow. And I like that a lot. But overall, this is a really solid episode. The performance all around were really solid. I like Barry's characterization in this episode because it shows like even without his powers, he's still Barry. Like it doesn't change who he is, and being a hero is what he thinks he's meant to do. So and I cannot wait until next week when we get the Flash versus Arrow. Finally, I've been waiting so long for this. You guys have like no idea. I'm beyond excited for this. And I'm thinking next week, if you guys are down for it, maybe do like a live stream chat thing, because I really want to talk about this with all you guys. Because like obviously I'm doing these videos talking to myself basically, and I'd like to hear your guys' input. So maybe next week, I'll post on my Tumblr or whatever, so you guys we can all chat together as the show's going on. All right, guys. Well, that'll be it for me. I'm giving episode Power Outage an 8 out of 10. That'll be it for me. And until Flash versus Arrow, have a good one, guys.